He walked the halls after hours, keys jangling softly, pushing a cart that squeaked on the third wheel. Same route every night. Empty classrooms, silent corridors, flickering fluorescent lights overhead. The kids called him Mr. Sam. Teachers barely noticed him. Parents never saw him at all. Until one evening, during a school board meeting that ran late, a mother glimpsed something that changed everything, a small detail most would miss. But she was a veteran herself, and she knew what few others could recognize. Welcome to The Last Witness. Before we continue, tell me in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today. And if you believe stories like these need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us honor those who continue to serve in ways we never see. Samuel Torres clocked in every evening at 6 p.m. sharp. Same navy blue uniform, same worn boots, same thermos of black coffee that never seemed to empty. Lincoln Elementary was his domain after dark. 280 students worth of scattered papers, spilled juice boxes, and childhood chaos left behind. He worked methodically. First floor classrooms, then second floor, finally the cafeteria. He knew which window latch was loose in room 12B, which bathroom stall door wouldn't lock properly, which section of hallway tile would be slippery when wet. The principal, Mrs. Davidson, had hired him 3 years ago. Clean background check, solid references, reliable as clockwork. What she didn't know, what no one knew, was that those references came from people who owed him their lives. Samuel never spoke about his past. When teachers made small talk, he kept it simple. Evening, ma'am. How are the kids today? When parents stayed late for conferences, he worked around them quietly, invisible as shadow. But some things can't stay hidden forever. It happened during a November school board meeting that ran past 9 p.m. Parents, teachers, and board members debating budget cuts while Samuel worked the adjacent hallway. He was replacing burnt-out bulbs when Mrs. Martinez, a Marine veteran whose daughter was in third grade, walked past. She glanced up as he reached for a high fixture and froze. There, on his right forearm where his sleeve had rolled up, was a tattoo most civilians would never recognize. An eagle clutching a shield. Precise, professional, the kind of ink you earned, not bought. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. But it wasn't just any FBI tattoo. Below the eagle, in small block letters that had faded with time, were 3 numbers that made Mrs. Martinez's breath catch. HRT, Hostage Rescue Team. The FBI's most elite tactical unit. The ones who went in when everyone else stayed out. She didn't say anything that night, but she couldn't stop thinking about it. Mrs. Martinez started paying attention. The way Samuel moved through the halls, never random, always systematic. How his eyes tracked every exit, every corner, every blind spot. How he positioned himself during school events, always with clear sightlines to the main entrances. She noticed other things too. His hands never shook, even when handling broken glass. He lifted heavy desks like they were empty boxes. And once, when a smoke detector malfunctioned and started shrieking, he located and silenced it in under 30 seconds, while everyone else was still covering their ears. The final piece came during a parent-teacher conference. Mrs. Martinez stayed late, and as she walked to her car, she saw Samuel in the parking lot, not leaving, watching, scanning license plates with the focused attention of someone trained to spot threats. She approached carefully. "Working late tonight, Mr. Sam?" He turned, and for just a moment, she saw it. The look of someone who had seen too much, carried too much, lost too much. Then his expression softened, back to the gentle janitor everyone knew. "Just making sure everyone gets to their cars safely, ma'am." "You know," she said quietly, "I was military. Marines. I recognize the way you watch things." Samuel was quiet for a long moment. Then, old habits. Must have been important habits. He adjusted his grip on the cart handle. The important ones usually are. The incident happened on a Thursday in March. Samuel was mopping the main hallway when the lockdown alarm triggered. 3 short blasts followed by silence. Not a drill. The digital display showed exterior threat, lockdown initiated. Every teacher knew the protocol: lights off, doors locked, children silent and hidden. But protocols meant nothing if someone was already inside. Samuel dropped his mop. In 15 seconds, he had crossed the building to the security office. The monitors showed a figure near the playground fence, moving toward the back entrance with purpose that made Samuel's blood run cold. The police response time would be 6 minutes minimum. Too long. He made the choice he'd trained for 20 years to make. Samuel moved like someone who had done this before, not as a janitor, but as what he used to be. He knew which hallway had the best sight lines, which classroom doors were reinforced, which route would let him intercept the threat before it reached the children. He positioned himself in the main corridor junction, where anyone entering would have to pass. No weapon except a radio and the training that had never left his muscle memory. The back door handle turned. Samuel stepped into view as a confused teenager entered. Not a threat, just a former student looking for a teacher who had helped him, unaware of the panic his late night visit had caused. But what Mrs. Davidson saw when she emerged from her locked office was something that stayed with her forever. Samuel, standing in the center of the hallway, positioned with tactical precision, eyes scanning for threats with an alertness that belonged to a different world entirely. The way he talked the confused teenager down wasn't like a janitor calming a visitor. It was like a trained negotiator diffusing a situation before it could escalate. "You're safe," he told the boy. "Everyone's safe. Let's call your parents." The next day, Mrs. Davidson called Samuel into her office. She closed the door and waited. 22 years with the Bureau, he finally said. 12 with HRT, retired 4 years ago. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Why Lincoln Elementary?" Samuel looked out the window at the playground, where children would soon be laughing and running. "Because they deserve someone watching over them who knows how. Because I've seen what happens when no one's paying attention. You could be teaching at the FBI Academy, consulting for security firms, making 10 times what we pay you. Money doesn't sleep better at night knowing kids are safe." Mrs. Davidson leaned back in her chair. "How many people know?" "You're the second. The first was Mrs. Martinez, and she figured it out herself." "And before? What made you retire?" Samuel was quiet for a long time. "There was an incident. School shooting in Oregon. We got there too late." His voice dropped. "I decided I'd rather be somewhere early than somewhere too late, ever again." From that day forward, nothing changed on the surface. Samuel still came in at 6 p.m., still pushed the same squeaky cart, still mopped the same floors. But Mrs. Davidson watched him differently now. So did Mrs. Martinez. They started noticing things they'd missed before. How Samuel always positioned himself with clear views of all entrances during school events. How he knew exactly which parents belonged and which were visitors before anyone signed in. How his casual conversations with maintenance workers were actually briefings about building security. The children loved him more than ever. To them, he was still Mr. Sam, who always had a band-aid when they fell, who remembered their names, who made sure their classrooms were spotless every morning. They didn't know they were being protected by someone who had once rappelled into buildings to save hostages. One parent did find out. During a spring carnival, a man with no connection to the school tried to enter through a side door. Samuel intercepted him with the calm authority of someone trained to read threats. The man left without incident. The parent who witnessed it was former law enforcement herself. "You handled that like federal training," she said quietly. Samuel just adjusted his janitor's cap. Just wanted to make sure everyone has a good time at the carnival. But his eyes never stopped scanning the crowd. Years passed. Samuel never spoke about his past to the children, but somehow they sensed something different about him. Kids who were afraid of the dark started asking him to check their classrooms one more time. Parents began trusting him with their most anxious children. During lockdown drills, the teachers noticed something strange. Children were calmer when Mr. Sam was visible in the hallways, not because he told them to be, but because his presence radiated a quiet confidence that everything would be okay. Late one evening, as Samuel was finishing his rounds, He found a note tucked under his cart, crayon writing in careful letters, "Thank you for keeping us safe. We don't know how we know, but we know. Love, room 3." B. He kept that note in his wallet next to his retirement badge from the bureau. Mrs. Davidson asked him once if he missed his old life. The raids, the rescues, the recognition. "I get to protect 280 kids every day," he said, emptying a trash can with the same precision he once applied to clearing buildings. "Tell me how that's not the most important mission I ever had." Samuel Torres never wore a badge in the halls of Lincoln Elementary, never carried a gun, never gave orders, never asked for thanks. He simply showed up early, quiet, unnoticed, and did the work no one else thought mattered. But behind that mop, and beneath that uniform, was a story no one could imagine, and a past that still stood watch over a place built for learning, because sometimes the men who've seen the worst don't tell you what they did. They show you how to carry it forward. So now I ask you, have you ever crossed paths with someone like him? Someone the world overlooked until a detail, a gesture, a glance revealed the weight they were silently carrying? Share their story in the comments. Tell us what they taught you. Because here at The Last Witness, we honor the ones who don't ask for recognition, only for respect. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe. Help us keep alive the quiet power of those who never stopped serving, even when the world stopped watching. And next time you pass by someone mopping a floor, look closer.